Christian no Heavy Culture Talk, nova temporada, hoje trazendo com vocês a lenda Kelly Shaefer, Atheist e Till the Dirt. Então, vamos começar o nosso conversation hoje com Kelly. Kelly, it's a great pleasure to be talking to you today. Okay, it's a great opportunity for me to because I'm a huge fan of the band. Also,
Thank you, man.
yours too. And I will start talking about Till the Dirt, and obviously, you're going to talk a little bit about Atheist too. How is the album doing? How is the acceptance of the band now?
It's good. It's anytime people know you sort of for a different band, like it's difficult for an artist to stretch out and do something different. So I took that into consideration when when putting this all together and deciding to make a new band and put a new album out. But yeah, it's a very, like much of my career, a lot of the music that I make is polarizing. And so people either really love it and then understand it, or they really don't. So the Till the Dirt record is very, it's a hybrid of a lot of different styles that aren't typically fused together. So I think that I expected some people to be confused by it a little bit, and they were, and then other people completely understood. I think that a lot of extreme metal people have love for bands like Alice in Chains and Old Soundgarden and Clutch and Old Sabbath and stoner rock and shit like that, So for me, I've always had a huge passion for that kind of music, and also for really fast, crazy, death metal type stuff. So it was a natural sort of thing to come together to fuse all those styles, and I didn't do it willingly. It just kind of happened organically. So yeah, and I think that as a listener, you're not expecting that to go from blast beats to harmony vocals. Then it might take you back at first, but mostly it's been really, really greatly received, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have to say that I really enjoyed the album. It's like I've been listening. I have to buy it because it was released in Brazil this year through Shinigami Records. Mm-hmm. So we have a copy here in Brazil. I have to get mine, but cool. Well, the main difference for me between Atheist and Till the Dirt is the fact that, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, Till the Dirt has more a link with thrash metal bands. It's like a hybrid, but it's like also the death metal that Atheist has, and also a mix of old thrash metal bands. More like those remarkable riffs and things like that. A different tempo from Atheist and things like that. I think it as you said, it is completely organic. It's different.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people sort of expect, you're going to hear, because I wrote a lot of Atheist stuff on guitar, you're going to hear moments that sort of resemble Atheist just by default, just by my writing and sort of the way I structure things. But for the most part, it's really its own entity. It's its own thing. But yeah, there's, I've never used blast beats in the Atheist music ever. We've never really experimented with that, and so that's different. And obviously, the vocal style that I used on Till the Dirt, I would never use that style for Atheist. So I was really quick to sort of point out to people that I know the difference between the two bands. You know what I mean? And so anybody who's maybe not happy with having that influx of sort of that stoner vibe mixed with crazy blast beat stuff, and they think that that's what's going to happen on the next Atheist record, would be very mistaken, because I know the difference between the two bands, and I I've asked people over the years to trust me. I know I'm the one guy out of the whole band that's been on every single record, and when we made the Elements record, that was with a bunch of different guys, but it's still an Atheist record, and so that should be a testament to people trusting me to make sure that quality that people expect from Atheist is there, and that I'm not going to mix church and state, so to speak.
Yeah, one thing that I have to say about the changing of vocals is well, I was surprised by that. I really enjoy that. It's like your voice, the shifting
Thank
in
you.
voice, is perfect timing and things like that. I was surprised by that. It's something that I would never expect, as you said, happening in Atheist. And another thing I have to say, I don't remember if it is a Staring in Hole or Outside the Spiral, but I was listening to it and I got like, someone is listening to Black Sabbath or something. Yeah.
Black Sabbath. Listen, if you look closely in my veins, you'll see Black Sabbath running through my veins. Like, no, the Black Sabbath to me is where it all begins. I mean, that's where
Yeah.
all of metal. And for me, I was listening to Sabbath when I was 9 years old. So I mean, it really is, it runs deep with me, Black Sabbath. So yeah, and that's where a lot of stoner rock comes from. It comes from that old '70s. And I just thought, once I wrote, Outside the Spiral was the first song I think I wrote for that whole album, and I ended up writing like 25 songs, and that's why I was just kind of like, wow, this is a weird song. I don't know what it is. It's almost got everything in it. And I literally sent it around to friends like Steve Giorgio and guys like that, just to kind of get an idea of, what is this? I don't even, is this extreme metal? Is this like something new or different? And so I got a lot of really great encouragement from my peers and people that I knew would tell me the truth about it, because it's sometimes you want to make new music and nobody wants to tell you the truth,
Yeah.
that it's garbage, or whatever. So early on, I was
Yeah.
just like, I need to know whether this shit is whether this matters, and so yeah, that was and then as I continued to write, I was writing literally a song almost every night. For a period of time, and every now and then I would spend maybe 2 days on it. But they were very quickly written, and I had a small studio in my house during COVID, and I was just able to sit by myself and play all the guitars, play the bass, and program the drums the way I wanted, and it was so fun and so liberating, and so I just kind of got intoxicated by it, and then just wrote so much that I really didn't know what to make of it. And I didn't know what was going to happen with it either. I was in the middle of writing Atheist riffs. I was recording and logging, sitting down every night and doing that, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
all that weird sort of combination sort of happened, and then I ran with that for a while until the record was done. So it's fun musically. I don't think there's any rules, and there shouldn't be any rules in art and in music.
Yeah, for sure.
I
And I
mean,
have to
obviously
say
people can
that,
have an opinion about it, obviously, but I
yeah.
think that people should be fearless when they're making art.
Yeah, and I have to say that Outside Spiral, that song is a very emotional song. It is like something that you really can feel the lines. It's not like nowadays. Most of the songs that we listen to, they are kind of something made for a Spotify. I don't know. It's like something that is, I wouldn't say like commercial, but it's like everyone is following the same tendency. Everyone is using the same stuff, recording the same way as something that you can do for a band from another band. And the songs for me, they are becoming more and more plastic, if you understand what I mean.
Sure. I couldn't agree more. I think that there's a formula used by so many that and it happens in pop music as well. You have a lot of pop music that where they just they listen to each other so much, and they're so influenced. It's almost like inbreeding musically. It's like, and it creates,
Yeah,
it's like you can't have that much inbreeding with music. You got to reach for new ideas and kind of break rules, and then go outside the bounds
yeah,
of what people expect you to do. And listen, I there's some really harsh reviews out there for this Till the Dirt record, but I feel like 10 years from now, people will look back on that record and be like, I mean, I remember reading, old Zeppelin reviews in Rolling Stone. People hated Led Zeppelin back in the day.
yeah,
People hated Black Sabbath. I mean, they got terrible reviews. So did Black Sabbath. But those bands are concrete foundations now, and
yeah,
I'm grateful to them that they didn't worry about what people wrote about them, and they didn't worry about whether everybody liked the music. They just made music that that they felt organically, like I said. And when you do that, I think that the art really shines, and it has longevity. That you know there's a lot of really popular bands out right now that are enjoying a lot of success, brand new bands, that are all coming out that sound very similar. You know what I mean? So it's like a wave of bands that are trying to all capture the same setting, or the same movement. And
Yeah,
I'd rather be outside that spiral.
yeah. Back in the day
Unintended.
when you started, back in the day when you started Atheist, it's like there was no band like Atheist. It's like I know that it was really difficult for the people to understand what the crazy stuff were that. And nowadays, when people talk about the label technical death metal, everyone knows about Chuck Schuldiner. In Canada, we have Beyond Creation, which is a very good band too. But I think Atheist was like put aside in this case for the biggest media. It's like, and I am a fan of Death too. I think Chuck is a good guitar player, but I think you have like such an importance inside his evolution, because Death didn't start as Atheist started. Atheist was complex since the first album.
Yes.
Death was like more rough. It was evolving. And then in the 90s, it was more like similar thing to Atheist, but not as technical as Atheist. Atheist was, for me, at least, was like always the most technical thing that was created inside death metal in that time. And
Preach it,
to
brother.
finish,
Preach. I mean, it's refreshing to hear that, because that's not the way it's written in most sort of history books of metal, and it's, at this point, after 30 plus years of doing it, it's pretty frustrating to hear the story be told incorrectly. Because I mean, Piece of Time was those songs were written in 1987. You know what I mean? Like, so, the ID9 songs like that were sort of touching on the complexity that Atheist would become on Unquestionable Presence. Um,
yeah,
people look at it, it didn't come out until 1990. So people see that as being coming out at the same time as Death. But I mean, really, you couldn't be more accurate. And it's been an issue of contention with me, if I'm being honest. I mean, I think that I like when I look at the history of Zeppelin and the Who and Sabbath and Alice Cooper and all these bands, I like to hear the accurate stories of the pecking order of how things happened. And to me, that's very interesting. Just like it is with painters and art, and it's frustrating to see Chuck and Death sort of be crowned the kings of progressive technical metal when that just couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, in terms of how it really came together, he was very against technicality and jazz infused metal, like to the point where he tried to keep us from getting signed. And
yeah,
and it's a story that hasn't really come out until the last couple of years. And Scott Burns just put out a book, and it's on Decibel, and people should pick it up and check it out. And it kind of goes through a lot of the stories of how that all came to be. And Chuck was a difficult personality to deal with, and but I think that when
yeah.
you
Like,
when you lose your life, you somehow become immortalized with a different set of wings than perhaps you had when you were alive, and I think that that's kind of bled into him being mentioned, and Death Human being mentioned as the first time that the progressive metal sort of showed its face, and it's just not true. So
yeah, exactly.
thank you for
Yeah,
pointing it out. At the
yeah. I
end of the
really
day, I
don't
guess it
see.
doesn't really mean anything, but I mean, to me, it means something. You know what I mean? It's very hard to be a pioneer and groundbreaking, and you, at least if you take the chance as an artist to do that, you want to be acknowledged for doing that. And after all these years, it would be nice if Atheist was mentioned, first in that conversation, because we were in terms of really extreme. If you really want to mention where it all came from, I'm happy to mention that Watchtower for us was where it
Yeah,
all where that kind of technicality really first emerged, and we were huge Watchtower fans. So really, obviously they were more of a thrash band, and they had different kinds of vocals. So for extreme metal, I think Atheist was definitely the first band, but we really bought all that from Watchtower and Rush. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
you know, and that's kind of where we started with our hunger in trying to make things different, and obviously make we were into musicianship, so we always loved Iron Maiden and bands that could play well, and we felt like the early days of extreme metal and death metal and stuff like that were
yes,
very knuckle dragging, and there weren't a lot of great musicians, and so that was something that
yeah.
we always strived for, to play things well. So anyway, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and back in the day also we had some bands that now are considered technical death metal, like Nocturne, Cynic, and Cannibal Corpse. But these bands also didn't start as technical as Atheist, and this is like what we were trying to express talking about that too. I think the bands were evolving. I think Nocturnus was kind of very influenced by Rush, but it was like a little bit more rough. They had very good guitar players, but not the same as you when you were playing the guitar and things like that. And a curiosity that I have about Cannibal Corpse, when I have the pleasure to interview Alex here in Porto Alegre, where I live, when they played in Brazil, we start talking a little bit about influences, and he is a huge fan of Celtic Frost, but he also mentioned someone that is really important for the technical death metal scene, which was Roger Patterson and his influence in Cannibal Corpse. He said that Roger was like his main influence to play the bass, the way he plays, and things like that, and he was the guy who said that like this is what the bass must sound in a technical death metal band, you know.
Yeah,
I
when we,
really
we when
like
we
it.
lost when we lost Roger, we made we went on tour with Cannibal Corpse just after that, and that was in the Chris Barnes era. And and you could tell that Alex was a good bass player then, and he sort of expressed those were tough times back then, for us because people really just didn't like us, and so it was tough to feel good about what we were doing. But I was real happy to see, Alex mention that over the years, and give Roger his credit, because he's been gone now for just so long. So a lot of young people don't know about Roger Patterson, but he played on Piece of Time, and he wrote 98% of the bass lines on Unquestionable Presence. And Tony Choi
Yeah,
actually performed them, but Roger wrote them. And he's just I can't say enough about that guy. What a shining star that faded way way too soon. And he really touched a lot of lives in a short amount of time. He was only 22 years old when we lost him, and
yeah,
so that's nice to hear after all these years that his name is still, it should be right there in
yes,
the conversation with them, because he, was really just exceptional. Not just because he was our bass player, but he just, man, he really owed a lot of credit for the early template of what we did, because he wrote things that were so difficult for us to play on guitar that we ended up creating this orchestration around it, and that kind of ended up being the template for Atheist, the formula for us. So yeah,
yeah.
R.I.P. man, he's sorely missed, but he sure would be proud of how long this band has managed to stay relevant. So
Yes, it's like recently I bought the Unquestionable Presence version, which contains the demo versions with Roger playing the bass, and I have to say that it was like a gift for the fans. It was really nice to be able to listen that demo and feel the way that he was playing the bass.
yeah, I'm grateful that we have those recordings, and now they're immortalized on those CDs, because the era that we come from with cassette tapes and everything, that was, those are it's hard to preserve those recordings. So yeah, it's nice to go back and listen, and just, he has such an attack. He not only did he play fast, but because you see a lot of guys that play really fast, but their fingers are very lightly. He was just like just pawing at the bass, and you could hear that attack when you combine it with a drummer like Steve Flynn, just that made that rhythm section just sick as shit. And way back in the day. So I encourage people to go back and just listen to the bass lines from Piece of Time, and check out those demos. On the new recordings that are out on Nuclear Blast, those just came out, and those have all the demos on them and everything. So you can order those from the label, but they're definitely worth getting, because it's a interesting
I bought
perspective
them.
on just how great he was. You
I,
good?
I, I bought them. Like, yeah, for sure. It's like I can't understand how people listen music nowadays through Spotify and think it is good. It's like I hate Spotify. I don't have it. If I have to listen to something, I listen on YouTube just to have an idea and go for the physical stuff. I like to have it. I don't own LPs anymore. I don't have vinyl anymore because nowadays it's very expensive too. But the CD, obviously hasn't the same quality of the vinyl. The vinyl is sometimes better, but more expensive than here at least. But the CD compare like I hate when people start to comparing Spotify and the physical material. No, they are just saying no. It's like it's a piece of shit. It's like
Yeah,
I really have this need of having it, open it. You know, that old ritual. Like I think
that
they did
cover,
with
yeah,
Black Sabbath and things like that to put it to spin and keep on like
yeah,
wow.
reading the liner notes and reading the thank you lists, and because when you're looking at a cover for an album, you know that the band played a huge role in putting that together. You know what I mean? So it's almost like a little welcome note from the band. You know, like you open it up and then you pull it out and
Yeah,
and it's all gatefolded and you're looking at the art. You know that matters to them. And if you're really into a band, it's just a better experience than Spotify. The one thing I can say about streaming networks is because there's so much music out there right now, it does save you a little time and money. If you hear about a band, you're like, I've heard about this band. Let me check them out really quick. That is a nice thing to have. It's just that if people understood that, if you do like what you hear, then go fucking buy it. Because if you don't,
yeah,
I mean, we can't afford to make records anymore. I mean, it's like buying a house and then everybody moves into the house and nobody pays rent. It's like, the band takes out the mortgage and then gets the house and a bunch of people squat in the house and don't pay for it. And then,
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like that in a way because, you have to borrow a lot of money from a record company and you have to sign deals with the devil in order to make records. So that's the only sad thing about the state of affairs in the music business is that the people that love music and can't live without it and try to support it on a live level and buy merch and all those things still can't quite get past the idea of, hey, let me go buy the CD. I listen to it, and because I mean it's 343 times you have to listen to a song before the band makes $1. So think of
yeah,
that, 343 times. So if you listen to one song every day for a year, the band made $1. And that,
yeah.
and I
It's
think,
like
when you put it in perspective like that to people, I think that slowly but surely artists need to talk about it. And 'cause in order for this to sustain and for people to continue. Now, the one kind of thing that has fixed it is the ability to not have to go into a big recording studio to make a record. The Till the
yeah,
Dirt record is a great example. Um, Everybody like Steve DiGiorgio is on that record, Jeff Loomis, John Longstreth, and some of the guys from Atheist are on the record, but we actually were never in the room together ever. And it's just an incredible way that you can make music now on a laptop that has the same quality, that actually better quality than what we had when we were paying for studios back in the day in the late 80s and early 90s. So that's kind of the
for
great
sure.
equalizer where it doesn't cost as much to make a record, but it's still, you've got to still borrow the money. And when you're a big band like like the Creator Testament and stuff like that, they're spending probably $100,000, maybe even more, I don't know, on making a record. So you got to pay all that back. So if nobody buys the record, you can't pay it back. So
Yeah,
when you go to make another record, eventually the record company's going to be like, I mean, that's why I think, there might be a possibility where people stop making records and they start just making songs, like putting one
yeah,
song out. And I don't like that because it doesn't represent a period of
yeah,
time. I want to see a series of songs, 10 songs that represent, that, for lack of a better term, a piece of time in that band's history. And so
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
it's
one
a
thing
tough
that I
business.
have to say about the liner notes, like the first time that I ever heard about Atheist was when I got a friend of mine lent me Sepultura Beneath the Remains, and that was your name there, and Atheist. And I like I have to know this band because I was a huge fan of Sepultura at that time, and
Oh,
so
that's how you found out about us?
yes, it was like there was the mention for the lyrics. I think is stronger than hate.
Yeah,
Max had
stronger than him.
problems with the English.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I know. I always say, if I tried to speak Portuguese, I would fail miserably. He was speaking English, but it was a little difficult lyrically. Scott just
yeah,
asked me, to come up and write a couple songs back then. But that's cool because I mean that shows you where liner notes are very important. I mean, as a
yeah,
result of you reading those liner notes, you discovered a band that you're now still listening to. So that's cool.
Yeah, and I think with the ascension nowadays, with technical death metal become more and more common, between quotations, obviously, I think Till the Dirt is going to be more successful than Atheist in matter of achieving more fans or something like that. Because as you said, back in the day, nobody was able to understand what Atheist was doing. It was like kind of a, well, what is that? It's like mainly of the bands were like roughly playing, it was kind of punk rock. Uh, Most of the evolved bands, we would say, were playing a heavy thrash metal, and then there were guys playing like a crazy thing that we could compare only with Rush, or Pink Floyd or something like that. It was like blowing up our minds and things like that. But nowadays, like we have, like as I said, one of the bands that I like very much is like Beyond Creation from Canada, and I also can notice the influence of Atheist in this band too. Because they are different from the most of technical death metal bands. They are really technical guys. Not like
Yeah,
just like
when I think about bands like Between the Buried and Me and Animals as Leaders and Beyond Creation and all these bands that are pushing the boundaries of musicianship, I salute them all. I hope that they all understand and recognize how difficult that road was to pave. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
everybody's speeding down the Autobahn right now, going 150 miles an hour on a smooth road. But in 1988, that fucking road was full of potholes, and it was a dirt road with big boulders in it, and there was all kinds of obstacles to keep us from being able to do that. So, I would love to see some of these bands, reach out and let's do a tour together. You know what I mean? I see a lot of bands that have sort of taken what we've done and moved it on to new boundaries. But when it comes to like playing together, like it'd be it's nice to hear people shout out Atheist as an influence, but it's also nice when you invite us out on tour. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you're enjoying a lot of success and and you're playing for a lot of people, then that's how I would be if I was a headlining band. I would want to bring those bands out that meant something to me if I could, and so that's the only thing that I would love to see. Even a band like Slipknot, Slipknot can't pretend that they didn't borrow everything from death metal and thrash metal and
yes,
extreme
for
metal.
sure.
Like,
Well,
but I
in the
don't.
beginning, they were a death metal band. Like the
Yeah.
first album there, they were playing death metal, but it wasn't very successful, I think.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I don't know if it was straight death metal because there was some singy sort of catchiness to it that kind of moved it away from straight underground death metal. But my point is, like, it'd be nice to see them reach out and pull more underground bands out on tour with them. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like their ticket sales they don't need opening bands in order to sell their tour, so to speak. So that's a prime opportunity to expose thousands of people to new bands. Because a lot of times, you can listen to a record and say, "Oh, that band sounds interesting," but when you're standing in front of them and they're playing, then it becomes,
Yeah,
this romantic sort of connection, and now you're attached to this band because you remember the show that you saw, and that's what live music is really about, is just really kind of reaching into people's soul, like right in front of them, and just never letting go, and you can't really always do that when you're listening on a phone or you're listening in your car or people are talking, or you know what I mean. It's a more intimate sort of connection. And so yeah, so a band like Slipknot, or I don't know, even System of a Down, as it borrows from thrash metal, pull some bands out that need exposure, and Atheist has always had a
yeah,
very, an infrequent touring, up until the last 3 years. Like, we weren't able to really tour a lot. Steve Flynn wasn't a big touring guy, and it was difficult. So in the last 3 years, I've put together a lineup of guys that are just out of this world, and they're playing the shit out of this music. So I really want to get out, and we haven't, there's opportunities for us to go out and play this music now. And the records are 30 years old, so they sound far different than they do live. And I think people are pleasantly surprised when they see us now and hear those songs like I Deny and Piece of Time, played live through 21st century sort of sound systems. It's way heavier than people expect. And you're only gonna
yeah,
know that by seeing, like, Cattle Decapitation was enjoying a lot of success, and they were kind enough to bring us out on tour with them,
yeah.
and we got to play for a lot of people that we wouldn't normally be able to play for. I would love to go out and do some stuff with Cannibal Corpse. You know, that would be a great redemption because of the hell that we went through back in the day in '91 or '92 when we were out on tour with them. It would be so nice to go out on tour with them now, because people understand us more now. So you know, it'd be like this. I don't know. For me personally, as in my career, it's one of the saddest times of the Atheist career was
Yeah.
having to go through trying to have people understand. Hey, man, we love extreme metal too. We just like a little bit of jazz and a little bit of Rush thrown into it. You know what I mean? But people just couldn't slam dance or mosh while we were playing, so that they fucking hated it. You
Yeah.
know, and they were just like, you know, we were going from one part to the next, to the next, to the next, and they were just like,
Like, yeah, it's like
what the fuck, you know? But now
Okay.
people seek that, you know, they look for bands now that are like that don't stay the same for, you know, play the same three riffs in the whole damn song, you know, like there's enough riffs in one Atheist song to make 5 songs, you know. And
Yeah.
but it took people a while to kind of get that, oh, okay, this is different. This isn't background music. This is like, you really got to listen to this shit to ride it. You know, I mean, it's like a crazy roller coaster. Not for everybody, though,
Yeah.
I guess.
One thing that I would like to add is like about technology is like nowadays it's very easy to get in touch with bands, to find old bands. But unfortunately, the new bands, I think they don't have the ability to do something original anymore. You know, as you said, if you listen to a face in the beginning, and if you listen to Atheist now, you're gonna be shocked for the first time because it's completely different from everything. You know, it was different in the beginning. It's still different nowadays. Although we have bands like Beyond Creation, which is, I think, the closest band to compare with the all the variations, all the crazy things, and Animals as leaders too, as you mentioned. I think it's like people should pay more attention to the old bands and look for the stuff, not just buy t-shirts to say I listen to 80 heavy metals, but I don't have anything, you know.
But see, I've always enjoyed that the history of where things came from. Like I love Jeff Buckley. Jeff Buckley's a great singer, and I always wondered, like, did he listen to Led Zeppelin? You know, I mean, he must have listened to Led Zeppelin because he has such a Robert Plant sort of quality to his voice, and you know, he's not a metal guy, obviously, but it's but you know, knowing, you know, and reading about where his influences came from. Was, I don't know, I really enjoy that. I enjoy knowing where, you know, where did Iron Maiden come from? You know, what were they listening to? What kind of, you know, to me that's really I mean, that's half the fun of exploring music, is knowing how it was created and where it came from and what influenced it. You know, the Beatles. You know, I mean, look at where all the music from, and then when you hear where the influence came from, you can go, oh, you know, and it's like, that's amazing. You
Yeah.
know, and so much like, you know, people look at the automobile industry and people still look at an old Model T from the 50s, you know, an old car, and still look at it and appreciate it. You know, I mean, obviously cars are made better now and faster and different, and but it all started with, you know, those Model T, those old school cars, you know, and so people should you know, do that exploration of, if there's a band that you really like that's modern, you know, find out what they were listening to. It's and in the process you discover new music, you know, because maybe it's a band you've never
Yes.
heard of. You're like, holy shit, you know, like I always wonder, like, where did Pink Floyd come from? Like, what the hell were they listening to when they were 16 years old that made them Pink Floyd? You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I wish I did, because you know, that's a you know, an amazing transformation of music, you know, in Pink Floyd and what everything that they
For
did.
sure.
So, anyway, I digress.
Yeah, and nowadays I think most of the bands they try to mime other bands. You know, they don't really, as we said, it's like when you listen to Pink Floyd, you're not able to say like, oh, this is influenced by that. No, this I listen when the same as I'm a big fan of Celtic Frost. Celtic Frost has a lot of influences of the Beatles, lots of bands from the 50s, and some post rock bands that people don't even know, and it's not there. You know, it's like it's just an influence, it's not a copy. And I think
No,
people
you know,
focus on copy.
a great example of that is, when you're talking about Celtic Frost, is, okay, so what influence did they have on, and you can look at Obituary. Obituary is literally Celtic Frost and that evolved. Like it's an evolution
Yeah,
of them. Like they have a
yeah,
very close similarity. But that's the beauty of it. As long as you're, you know, everybody Zeppelin, everybody had influences. Everybody stole and borrowed from their influences. But the key is to create
yeah,
something new with it, not to just rest on that, and oh, here I'm just going to steal everything and try to recreate exactly what they did. You have to move the boulder, as I say. You can't just rest on it.
yeah,
And Obituary took what Celtic Frost was doing, cleaned it up, and made it sort of death metal. Whether they realized they were doing it or not, I know that they were huge fans of them back then. But that's a great example of how it's supposed to go. And then from Obituary, there's other bands that have now taken a little bit of Obituary and moved it forward into other realms. And I think that that's what is so exciting about music to me, and to hear about where those influences come from, to me is interesting. And people should be
yeah.
more intuitive to it.
Yeah, it's like one thing that I like to compare with Atheist is like Celtic Frost story is the same. Celtic Frost was the main responsible for the '90s death metal scene, but nobody listened to the band after. It's like it became famous now. It's the same. I think Atheist is becoming more famous now because of
Yeah,
that. People are looking back to the days and checking, this band has a really huge importance in the scenery that time, but most people were not able to understand. Same way
right.
most people were not able to understand what Celtic Frost was trying to do at the time because they were avant-garde. You were we could say that you were avant-garde too because you were kind of a jazz rush death metal band and whatever it was like happening there because when I listened to the band I was like 17 years old and was like, you were confused when you were 17 years old.
Yeah.
Listening to that, you were more confused than everything.
That's, I mean, I think that's at the more, if you're young right now and you're putting a band together and you're making music, just be interesting, just break rules. Don't listen to everybody, don't try to be a part of a current fad. I mean, you always want to be ahead of, things, and just make music that makes you happy, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're really not looking over your shoulder or looking around, and we weren't back then. I mean, obviously we used to have a rehearsal spot that was about 3 doors away from a band called Crimson Glory, who many know, and very great sort of band in the vein of like
Yeah,
Queensryche or whatever. And they were so good. They were like so polished and had this amazing vocalist. And I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but we're from the same town, and so we would listen to them practice, and they sounded like Judas Priest was playing like down the, so for us, we were still kind of shitty. We were trying to get better at playing, and we knew what we wanted to sound like, but we just weren't good enough musicians yet. And then over a couple of years time of listening to that and striving to be better musicians, we ended up, doing something completely different. I guess my point was that, while we were listening to what would have been an easy thing for us to go and try to sound like, hey, let's try to sound like them because they sound
yeah,
great. We were like completely
yeah,
in the in this opposite direction, trying to pursue something interesting and different, as well. So, but yeah, I mean, these days, even a band like In Flames is way bigger now than they were back in the day.
yeah,
Merciful Fate, for fuck's sake. Merciful Fate is almost an arena band, I
yeah,
mean, and I'm so happy with watching the success of Cannibal Corpse. Makes me so happy because they just fucking did it on their own terms, man. They persevered. Paul and Alex and Rob. I've known Rob since we were teenagers. And Rob Barrett, and just so happy for those guys and seeing them play in Red Rocks. I don't know if you saw the video of a few days ago. They played Red Rocks here in the States, which is just an untouchable venue for death metal. Like, there's just no way that anybody ever thought that Cannibal Corpse
yeah,
would and Obituary would play Red Rocks, and they both played it together with Amon Amarth. And yeah, that's when people say metal's dying, they're full of shit. It's growing exponentially. I mean, there was a lot of people there, and Cannibal Corpse and Obituary continue to be that, those bands that they never went away. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of us went away, broke up for a few years, came back, They just fucking stayed at it the whole time, and so now they're enjoying the fruits of that labor, and I couldn't be more happy for them, you know.
Yeah. One thing that I have to add to finish the atheist topic is that when I bought Jupiter, I was listening to it in a very loud volume, obviously. But like I got stunned, like I got like what like a stone in my hand. And then it's like I was like I changed the CD and put Dismember to listen to, and I got like, where is the it's like, what the heck? It's like, Dismember when I was a child was very, very heavy, but it's a matter of distortion, not a heavy, like playing an instrument in a heavy way and exploring all the notes in a heavy, like, to destroy the mind of someone, as I can say, and Jupiter was like completely shocked when I listened to that, I got like a, gosh, this is really heavy. I have to turn down the volume and go like, no way. It's like, it was like one of the albums that I really enjoy listening to, like, very loudly. It's like, and congratulations for this album, because
Well,
it
thank
is
you.
really amazing.
That's another record that we took a lot of heat on. I mean, coming back after 17 years and making that record. People were angry that it had modern production, and people were angry that it was. And it's like, you can't never please everybody. You know what I mean? And we were super proud of
Yeah,
that record, and just because it didn't sound like, Piece of Time, or it didn't sound like Unquestionable, but people were just failing to realize that none of our records sound the same. Every single one of our records sound different. Elements is completely different than Unquestionable. Unquestionable is different than Piece of Time. And so
yeah,
naturally Jupiter was going to be different. But can I just say, man, from somebody that appreciates the record, like, how about those drums? I mean, that guy stopped playing drums for 14 years, like stopped playing drums and picked that up and delivered that performance on that record. Steve Flynn,
yeah,
like, man, talk about an unsung hero, like, of drummer. When you talk about the Sean Reinerts and all this, like, Steve Flynn just deserves to be mentioned in much, much better conversation than he is. I mean, he truly was one of the first guys to ever. Nobody plays like him. There might be guys that are more, fast and more technical or whatever, but that guy plays like nobody else. And his performance on Jupiter is fucking stunning. It's really something else. So I'm proud of him.
yeah. We are almost in the end here, so I would like to talk a little bit more about Till the Dirt. If you have any
Yeah.
plans for tours, if you are coming to Brazil with Till the Dirt too. Till the Dirt, sorry.
Yeah. So, one of the things that's really hard is, with a brand new band and going out on tour is so difficult. And, I don't know that I'm all ready to jump in a van right now, like I don't, it's, I'd like to make another record, like make another Till the Dirt record. And also, I don't want to have just 8 songs or whatever, 9, 10 songs to pull from. So I have like all the songs written for another record. So I'm probably gonna, yeah, and it's they were all written at the same time that these were, so it's gonna have that same vibe, in a way. And obviously, I have some different musicians playing on it with me. Ian Way is one of the guys. He's a tremendous guitar player. Plays with Surreption, a band from Sweden, and so he'll be on the new Till the Dirt record with me as well. But I have those songs ready, and I think that if I put out another record, now I've got 2 records. Maybe also people will have a better understanding of what I'm trying to do and how, because it's very different, just like Atheist was back then. So I'm going through that same, explanation period. People are like, well, I don't understand. You can't mix grunge music with extreme metal. I'm like, why can't I do that? And it's really heartbreaking sometimes to read the things that people write, knowing that, man, you're missing the point. Like, it's but I'm super proud of the Till the Dirt record, and I think and I tip my hat to the people that did get it, like yourself, that did understand out of the gate, and I appreciate it. But so I'll probably be 2025 before it sees the stage.
Yeah, I think Till the Dirt will be more successful than Atheist because I think it is easier to understand it
Yeah.
nowadays. Nowadays people change their mind, people learn more about music. It was difficult to get an instrument in that time. It was difficult to learn how to play something that time, and most of the people were not able to create music. It was like a hard time. Nowadays it's pretty easy. It's like you have nowadays a 12-year-old Asian guy playing Beethoven on a guitar and he wanna give up. It's the same as you when you see Steve DiGiorgio playing the bass and you wanna learn the bass. You say like, okay, I don't wanna play the bass anymore.
Yeah, Steve is really
Like I really
he's
enjoy his playing the bass, but when I see his like showing the lines and things like that, I got like,
yeah,
yeah,
he was, I mean, he was, I was so grateful to him for playing on Outside the Spiral, playing on that song, because he brought a different, like, there's a demo version of Outside the Spiral that's floating around online. The very first one that I did all by myself, where I'm playing all the guitars, and so you can hear the difference between whenever I sent it to Steve and he played that fretless bass line, and it's really become like a part of the song in a way that I think not a lot of bass players have that ability to
yeah,
change the landscape of a song, and he always has that ability to do that. So I was grateful to have him be involved. And Jeff Loomis is Jeff Loomis. What a shredder. Like we've known each other for quite a while, known of each other for a real long time. So, and he was just, I love, to me, the most famous guys in the industry are the most humble and the most kind. Like, I just simply asked those guys to
yeah,
play on the record. They didn't have their lawyer call me. They didn't have their fucking manager call me. Like, there was no bullshit. They just, yeah, man, I'll play bass on this track. Fucking, or I'll do the solo on this for you, Kelly. And boom, 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 in a couple of days, and did the solo, sent it to me, and I threw it on the track. And that's the song Privilege from Till the Dirt. And he
yeah.
just crushed it. And I just love that ability to be able to do that as well, to not have to actually fly to a studio to have him set up with an amp and go through all that process. He can just whip out a solo, send it to
Yeah,
me in
for
email,
sure.
and I can fly it into a studio session here in Florida. Fucking amazing technology.
Yeah, this is the most important thing. It's like that's the good way to use technology in our favor nowadays.
Yeah,
By the way, we have to finish here, so I would like you. First of all, I want to thank you very much for your
thank
time
you,
and your attention. Okay, it was a huge pleasure to talk to you as a fan,
thank you.
and it was like thank you for this opportunity. Really, it was like
My absolute pleasure.
very
Thank
happy.
you.
And also, I would like you to leave a message to the Brazilian fans and what to expect from the next Till the Dirt. Because for sure it's not going to be the same thing. I know.
No, I mean, listen, all of South America, just in Brazil in particular, has always been such a progressive metal community, and we love going down there. And Chile as well is another great place. Just the passion that is in South America for metal. I mean, obviously, sort of bred Sepultura, so that's the land was ripe for supporting metal. And so one thing you can always expect from me is something a little different from what I just did. I'm never going to make the same record twice. So the new Till the Dirt will be, you can count on it being exploratory and interesting, but you can also guarantee that it's going to be heavy as fuck. And also the new Atheist stuff. We've been writing together. The new Atheist stuff is going to blow people's minds. And we've already got 3 songs written for that is unbelievable. And the guys that are in the band with me right now just have such a level of respect for the catalog and for where we come from. They grew up on this music, and so they have a really, so they're in tune with the stuff that I'm writing for the new Atheist on guitar, and so I'm excited about that as well. So the next 12 to 18 months in my world is going to be full of lots of new music and hopefully lots of touring. We want to get down south to see you guys before the end of the year, I hope. So look forward to seeing all the fans down there, and thank you
For
guys for
sure.
supporting and having me on. I
I,
appreciate it.
yeah. So it's like just to finish, I think the
And
certain
go buy the
thing to
record.
say is Yeah, yeah, it's like the most certain thing about the new album is, and this one is the expect the unexpected, you know,
That's right. That makes it fun.
and buy the album because this album was released in Brazil this year. So it's like there is no excuse to say,
No
oh,
excuses.
I can't find the album. It's like only importing the album. No, it's like Shinigami released it in Brazil. It's like I already ordered mine. Okay, it's like I know
Thank
I
you. I appreciate it. The
have.
cover is really cool as well. Santiago Jaramillo did the cover, and I believe he's a Chilean artist. Not sure, but yeah. So I'm really proud of it. Please check it out. It's some of the craziest vocals I've ever done. You know, if you're a fan of anything I did vocally on Atheist, I've kind of taken it to a different level on the Till the Dirt. It's pretty torturous to the point where it's going to be fun trying to play it live. It's
Yeah,
going to be hard,
for sure.
but it's interesting if nothing else. You know, I mean, it's definitely unlike anything that's out there. So for better or for worse, go check it out. Bye.
For sure. Bye bye, and thank you
Cheers.
very much for this opportunity. Okay,
Thanks. I'll see you
hope to
soon.
see you
Cheers.
soon.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.